Hello children, in this video we will begin with the 7th lesson in geography, that is human settlements. Now children, what do you understand by human settlements? It is something where human beings begin to stay. What are the different characteristics where humans dwell or they would like to stay? It may be the land, okay, the plain land, plateau land, and especially near the river, fertile land. Man has always, been in the early stages of human development, there was hunting. But slowly, as the evolution came into being, there was agriculture that was practiced. Now, in order to live, in order to survive, you need food, you need water, you need proper resources. So, all these things together makes a proper place for human settlements. Now, in this lesson, we are going to learn about the human settlements in India and in Brazil. Now, before beginning and going further with the lesson, let's learn about the three settlements that you have learned in Standard 7. The first is the nucleated settlement, second is the scattered or dispersed settlement, and the third one is the linear settlement. So, children, this you have learned earlier in your lessons. But just to revise, I'll just tell you what are these three settlements. Nucleated settlements are those kind of settlements where towns or buildings are close together. Okay, they are being built close together, often like a cluster in a central point. The location of this kind of settlement, that is nucleated, can be determined by a range of factors, including being easy to defend, close to a water supply, or located to a root center. These kind of settlements are developed where defense is a priority. Okay, so these kind of settlements are mostly found near river areas, fertile land, hilltops. Okay, next is the scattered, or it is also called as a dispersed settlement. These are ones where the houses are spread out over a wide area. They are far away from each other. You can see that in the picture. Even for nucleated, you can see it is close together. All the houses and buildings are together. And beside there will be a river or transportation route. Whereas scattered or dispersed settlements are of a kind where houses are built far away from each other. They are often the homes of farmers and can be found in rural areas. Okay, like in villages, you all might have seen that the houses are far away from each other. Okay, so that is called as a scattered or dispersed settlement. Third is a linear settlement. This is a kind of a settlement where group of buildings that is formed in a long line. You can see that beside the road. The road is there in the center, and just beside that there are houses that are built in a straight long line. Many such settlements have transport route. You can see that in the picture, such as road, river, or a canal. Okay, children. So these are the three types of settlements. I have explained this or revised this because it is necessary in relation to this lesson. Now, children, let's first learn about the settlements in India, that is human settlements. Now, in front of you, you can see the map of India. Now, children, in India, we find a variety of settlements. Okay, that is the patterns that we just revised: nucleated, linear, and scattered or dispersed. So these settlements, depend on a variety of factors. It may be climate, it can be availability of water, or the slope of land. If it is very slopy, you all might have seen houses, right, where the houses are built on the slopes of mountains, and even the level of development. Okay, what kind of development is there? So mostly in India, nucleated settlements. Okay, the settlements where it is being built near the rivers and all are found throughout the plateau region of Narmada, okay, near Gujarat area, okay, Gujarat and Maharashtra area. It is being found there, okay, near the Narmada Valley, and also near the paddy lands in Bihar, UP, Vindhya Plateau, and several other cultivated parts of India. You all can see that here in the North Indian plains, all this area is mostly nucleated settlement in India. Okay, and the Narmada Valley somewhere lying here. Okay, here we can see most of the nucleated settlements. Whereas we can see scattered or dispersed settlements in the tribal parts. Okay, tribal parts where in the central part of India. Okay, this is a central part, that is a peninsular area. We can see dispersed settlements far away. The houses are far away from each other. And also in the eastern and southern Rajasthan. Okay, then the Himalayan slopes also have scattered or dispersed settlement. Okay, because why, children? Because most of the times the land is uneven. What do you mean by uneven? It may be higher or lower. There may be different kind of mountains which may not be much suitable to build houses. That is why mostly houses are built far away from each other, which is called as the dispersed or the scattered settlements. These are the type of settlements that are found in India. You can see the pictures. Okay. Now let's learn about human settlements in Brazil. Now children, the earlier settlements, okay, that were formed in Brazil were by the settlers from Europe. Okay, they were the ones who came there and first settled in Brazil, mainly near the coastal areas. Okay, near the coastal areas, near the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, near these areas they came and settled here. That is the European settlers. Now the settlements have developed. Obviously, it has been developed. It's global now and are densely populated. The major reason of development is because of the fertile land or flat land that is found near these coastal regions. Okay, most of the flat lands that are available in Brazil is near the coastal. All the central or the northern parts are having the highlands. We have learned that in the physiography of Brazil, right children? We have the Brazilian highlands, we have the Guyana highlands. So those are very wide, so which covers the entire Brazil and leaves very less flat or plain land for Brazil. So although the coastal climate is very hot and humid, okay, and the land is also very less there, but still there is more population and there is more settlements near the coastal region, especially because of good water supply. Okay, there is good water supply there and a large range of natural resources are found there, especially in Sao Paulo. Okay, then we have Espirito Santo. Okay, then we have Rio de Janeiro. All these places are densely populated. Okay, and there is more settlements here because of availability of good natural resources, water supply and good flat land. Now children, Sao Paulo, okay, you can see that in the map here, that is also a coastal region, has an extensive area, okay, a large area under rich soil. That means it has fertile soil, so which makes it very suitable for growing coffee. You all know, right? Coffee is very famous and popularly grown in Brazil. So in this place, that is Sao Paulo, there is a soil, fertile soil, which is suitable to grow coffee. So it also has a large supply of minerals, okay, such as iron ore, which also makes it famous and good for human settlements, so that people can build industries or do some kind of business there. And it also has a steady energy supply. That means electricity supply. Now children, let's go to the southeastern area. The southeastern area has a good transport system. Okay, if you go to see these all areas, okay, all these areas are not developed at all. Okay, it is very inaccessible, whereas this area, okay, that is a southern, okay, this part, that is a coastal region, is very developed. There is good transportation also. Now where there is good transport, it is favorable for people to go and stay there. That is why the southeastern area has good transport system. So this makes Sao Paulo area a nucleated settlement. Okay, because there is a transportation system, it makes it favorable for people to settle down there. Now in the rural areas in Brazil, such as the northeast, we'll go towards the northeast. Okay, here, this area, if you go to see. So children, do you remember what we have here when we were learning about the physiography of Brazil? We have the drought quadrilateral, right? So this area suffers from extreme drought because this is a rain shadow region. It does not receive any rain here. So because of which it suffers from extreme droughts, and it makes it very difficult for practicing any kind of agriculture or cultivation in this region. That is the northeast region. So that is why in this place we find very less settlements, very sparse settlements. Now children, settlements become sparse, okay? It becomes very sparse when you move towards the central part, this area. Mostly children, if you go to see, settlements are more only towards this side, okay? That is a coastal region. As you go away from the coastal region, you will see that the settlements become lesser and lesser. So when you go to the central part of Brazil, it has very sparse and very less kind of settlements. Now let's see what are the reasons. Okay, what are the reasons of less or very sparse settlements in the central as well as the northern region of Brazil? So first is, most of the area is covered by something. We have learned that is the equatorial rainforest. It is having a thick dense equatorial forest, which makes it impossible for human beings to settle there. Next is, the climate there is unhealthy and unfit for settlement. People cannot live there. It is not, the climate there is very hot, okay, and there is continuous rainfall, which makes the place unlivable. Next is the limitations on use and exploitation of natural resources. Now see children, we humans, wherever we go, we try to take from nature. We try to destroy nature. So this region, that is the northern and the central part of Brazil, is inaccessible, because of which humans cannot go there. It's very difficult, and to take the transportation there or take the machinery there, it takes lot of money. So people are not moving that side. They are only staying or settling towards the coastal regions because it is a plain and livable area. So that is why these areas are very difficult, because there are limitations there. And the last is poor transportation links in that region. Most part of the central and the northern region is mountainous or highlands are there. So which makes it impossible or difficult to create transport links. So these are the reasons because of which Brazil does not have much of human settlements in the northern and the central part of its states. Okay, mostly their settlements are towards the coastal regions. Next children, we will see and move towards the urbanization of India. We finished with the settlements, right? We saw the nucleated settlements, we saw the dispersed settlements in both the countries. Now we will move towards urbanization. What do you mean by urbanization? Urbanization means after industrialization, after machineries came in, villages started turning into cities. Okay, that is why this term is called as urbanization. So how India turned into a urban center? Okay, was it good? Was it fast? Was it slow? Let's have a look at this graph which shows the trend of urbanization in India. Now children, if you look at this graph, okay, you can see we have the years from 1961 to 2011. Okay, this is a graph that is showing the level of urbanization that took place from 1961 to 2011. Now if you are looking at this graph, you can see that in 1961 the level of urbanization in India was very low. It was just 18.0%. And as it went on to 1971, after 10 years also, we couldn't see much of urbanization happening. Just 2 point was increased. Okay, that was the slowest of urbanization that took place. So the percent of urbanization in 1961 was 18%. Okay, and then the decade in which the urbanization was the highest was in 1971 to 1981. That was the decade when urbanization grew, to a very much percent. Okay, it grew a lot in that 10 years. And the decade in which the growth of the urbanization in India was least or lowest was in 1961 to 71. You can see that in the graph. From 18.0, it just went up to 18.2 in 1971. So by looking at this graph, you might have seen that it is very much clear that urbanization in India has been very, very slow. Okay, we have been very slow in the matter of urbanization. So the level of urbanization in India in 2011 was 31.16%. Okay, that is 2%, which is very low in comparison to other developed countries, because most of the other countries had gone very high in urbanization. We were lacking behind in this term. At the same time, the urban population is increasing. As you all know, as urbanization started, people from villages started coming to the urbans and the city areas in search of jobs. So because of this, what happened? The population continuously started increasing. Okay, and due to which the urban centers also started growing. It started growing, and the emergence of new towns played a very significant role in the growth of urban population. So children, in this way, as people from other villages, rural and remote places started coming towards the urban centers of India, the city that was very small started growing. Okay, it started growing from small to big and big. Towns and towns started adding up. In this way, we have our city, Mumbai, which was just the island city, which then later on grew from the city to suburbs. Okay, because people started coming in, started building houses, started staying here. Some people had their entire family in their villages and they were earning in the cities. So that is why urbanization was slow, but it was going on from 1961. It started, and still now we are growing. It has not stopped. You can see in 2011 we have the level at 31.2%. Urbanization has been more in the southern part. If you see this map, you can see here it is dark color here. Okay, dark orange. You can see the color. So here if you see, most of the urbanization has mostly occurred in the southern part of India. Okay, and if you go to see in the northern part, there is very less urbanization that has taken place. That is mostly because that area is mountainous. Okay. Then Goa is the most urbanized state, which is at 62% population living in the urban areas. Okay. Goa is one of the urbanized state in India. Then Delhi is more than 80%. Okay. It is more than 80% urban. In the state of Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Kerala, urbanization is also more. We know that in Maharashtra and Mumbai we can see urbanization. Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Rajasthan are some of these states which have very low urbanization. These are all the states which are in the north. So as I told you earlier, urbanization in India has mostly occurred in the southern part rather than the northern part. Now children, India has a long history of urbanization. Since ages, it is not that India has started getting urbanization after our freedom or something like that. Even during the ancient times, we had urban mindset. Okay, in the Indian subcontinent, we had many places which at that time had a urban kind of a mindset where people were living in a settlement or a civilization where it could be called as the urban standard of living. Like if you see in Delhi, Indraprasth, which was earlier called as that, okay, then we have Harappa, we have Mohenjo-daro, we have Ujjain, we have Paristhan, which is in Maharashtra, are the urban centers of earlier times. Today, if we compare, it is not urban. But during those times, okay, during the ancient times, if you see these places, that is Indraprasth, Mithila, Varanasi, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, the type of houses that they build and the type of cities that they planned, if you will go and study that, you will see that they had urban centers of the earlier times. So this shows that India has a great tradition of urbanization. Even though today we are slow in urbanization, but still it is not that this concept is new to us. We have been urban from our very, very old ancient times. Now children, let us see urbanization in Brazil. Now this is the graph which you will have to draw in your workbook. Okay. So now when we look at this graph, again you can see the graph is from the year 1960 to 2010. And this is also showing the Brazil's percentage of urban population. Now if you go to see in 1960, you can see the percent of this year is at 47.1. Okay, as compared to India, if you saw in 1961, in our country it was just 18%. Okay, so you can compare it, you can see that Brazil was very much high in urbanization than India. Okay, it was very slow, whereas in Brazil it is very higher, it is at 47.1 in 1960 itself. So as it came to 2010, it is around 84.6. It is way more higher than India. But still, if you go to see, the urbanization is very slow. It's not that fast. Okay. So the period of urbanization occurred very rapidly in this graph in the year or in the decade 1970 to 1980. Now children, when you look at this graph, what are the explanation that you can give? What you can comment or analyze from this graph? So when you look at this graph, it shows the percentage of urbanization, okay, that is from 1960 to 2010. And the interval, what do you mean by interval? It is this, the gap between the decades, that is 1960 to 1970. How many years? It is 10 years. So the interval is 10 years. So in 1960, if you go to see, The percentage of urbanization was 47.1%. And in the following year, 10 years, by 1970, it grew by 9.7%. The highest urbanization is seen between the decades 1970 and 1980, and it grew from 56.8% to 66%. Urbanization occurred slowly during the decade from 2000 to 2010, which it grew only by 3.1%. That was the slowest, urbanization. The decade was very slow in the level of urbanization. Now, children, Brazil is one of the few developing countries, just like us country. Similarly, Brazil is also a developing country, which is highly urbanized than India. Okay, Brazil's, has a substantial urban growth. It has grown from very, late years. Whereas if you can see in India, in 1961, it was just 18%. Whereas in 1960 in Brazil, it was at around 47.1%. Okay, the urbanization was very higher than India. So now children, what are the factors that made Brazil a rapid economic growth? There are various factors. Today about 86% of Brazil's population lives in urban area. So that is why it is said to be as, increased. It is increasing in the urban center. It is, all the facilities, all the factors that are necessary for urbanization, it is having it. But if you go to see, as I told you earlier, as the settlements are mostly near the coastal regions, okay, you can see that. I am not saying that people do not stay here. They do stay here. But it is very less because of the climate and type of land. Most of the people in Brazil stay here. And that is why most of the urbanization also has occurred in these coastal regions. Okay. Now, the definition for urban is not very clear in Brazil. Why? Because in Brazil, rapid urbanization happened only towards the south and the southeast. Okay, as I told you, near the Atlantic Ocean. With Sao Paulo, that is emerging as the major city. Most of the urbanization occurred in Sao Paulo because it is now a metropolitan and industrial area. You remember, as I told you, there is a lot of natural minerals available in this city. Now, looking at this growth in few parts of the country, okay, the government of Brazil. Now, what happened, children? Most of the cities and settlements were developing only this side, okay, towards this side. So now, the majority of the population was concentrated towards the southern side, okay, that is towards the south and the southeast, okay. So because of this, there was a lot of population which were only staying towards this side, okay. There was a lot of load towards this side. So looking at this scenario, the government thought of promoting a policy called as Go West, okay. The government started, telling people to go towards the west and stay there. Okay, they also started developing that area. It is still going on. So because in order to reduce the pressure in these southeast and the south areas, the government started this policy of telling the people to go towards the western side and settle there as well, because the resources in the southeast and the southern part were getting depleted because more people were there. They were using all the resources, whatever water resources are available, that also was depleting. So in order to reduce this pressure, the government introduced this kind of policy and will reduce the regional imbalance. It will also reduce that imbalance that had caused, because most of the people are living towards the coastal regions. If you see the dark pink color, you all can see that is Sao Paulo. Then we have Rio de Janeiro, we have Espírito Santo, we have Goiás. Okay, these are the places which are the coastal regions which are urbanized, more urbanized than others. If you see Para, we have Maranhao, then we have Piauí, which is least urbanized. Okay, these are the places which are least urbanized. Even in India, if you go to see, we also have a policy where most of the people are coming towards the urban centers. So because many cities in India like Kolkata, Bengaluru, then we have Mumbai, Chennai, these all cities, the population is exploding. So even in India, we had a policy called as go to villages. The government was trying to tell people to go and stay in villages so that the load in the cities would become less. Okay. So children, with this, we have now completed with the explanation for this lesson. Thank you for listening, children. Take care.